Absolutely. So we'll start off with our systems administrator path. So I'm going to let Joe take this one away. He wanted to jump into this, and he's kind of the expert in this particular area.
Yes. So, systems administration. Sysadmin is sort of the traditional IT role that everyone thinks of. Actually, kind of an interesting note as we talk about the career path of system administration. This is actually a coming soon career path. So you're going to see a card here at the end of this set of slides that you won't find on our site yet. And that's because what we're doing is, as we're building out all of these intro courses and fundamentals courses, we're actually going to be building the sysadmin career path with input from our viewers like you and people who are really very invested in this community. But to kind of get started and understand what a sysadmin is, right? I said it was sort of traditional IT. When people think of, the IT Crowd, which is an excellent show if you haven't seen it, maybe didn't age perfectly, but it's a great show. A sysadmin is responsible for, a system or the specific components of that system. That's kind of vague. So what do we mean by that, right? So you install, configure, maintain hardware and software. So all of the, the day-to-day life of actually implementing, using, and fixing all the hardware and software solutions your company has. You're both responsible for adhering to policies, both company policies and regulation or regulatory policies, as well as enforcing them to your users. So a lot of your users aren't going to be aware of password strength or PCI compliance or anything like that. And part of your job as a sysadmin is to enforce those policies in such a way that your company is both protected from liability and protecting its customers and its employees. You're also going to, again, what everyone thinks of when they think of IT, you're going to provide sort of that help desk level technical support to users. There is a perception that it's only like the basic password reset and stuff like that. That's not necessarily true. Sysadmin can run the gamut of technical skills. It can be anything from the absolute basic, actual password reset or email fixing or whatever, all the way up to doing, really in-depth triage, figuring out certification problems and signing, just tons of really deep technical information. So don't think of sysadmin as necessarily like a less technical path, but it definitely has a wide range. And then, of course, you're going to provide, the regular backups and data recovery. Disaster preparedness and disaster recovery is very much a major job of sysadmins. It's something that, incident responders that Ken will talk about later help with and are involved with as well. But when we're talking about disaster preparedness and continuity operations, it's all sysadmin.
Cool.
So if you're going to do all those tasks, right, what skills, what knowledge, what abilities, KSAs are you going to want to have in order to be successful at this? The answer is there's a ton. Just like with any other job, there's so many soft skills that you're really going to need that you don't necessarily think of all the time. But these are the ones that we were working on this, identified as probably the biggest and most important KSAs to have. So reporting and communication are at the top for a very good reason, which is that in IT and in cybersecurity and in systems administration in particular, it's essential that you be able to communicate back to your leadership and to other sysadmins what's happening, what's caused it, really being able to clearly have those lines of communication is just essential for success. In terms of technical skills, you're going to need to be familiar with client and server operating systems, Windows, Linux, Mac, whatever, not only whatever your organization, world of BYOD that we live in now, you're going to want to be familiar with the technologies and the operating systems people are bringing that are connecting to your systems and be able to work with those as well. Obviously, if you're working for an enterprise, you have to be familiar with enterprise IT architecture. It's sort of a no-brainer, but it deserves to be said. Enterprise IT architecture looks, feels, and it just is very, very substantially different from the sort of day-to-day stuff that you're using. It's larger solutions, more complicated solutions, and you just have to think about it and approach it in a very different way. So that's a separate skill set from just being familiar with sort of normal tech. As well, since very much we're moving towards sort of platform as a service, infrastructure as a service, we see things like containers and Docker. Just sort of we're back in sort of a new virtual machine wave. You need to be familiar with those, at least to some capacity. The ability to manage those and understand them is essential to be successful as a modern sysadmin. Identifying server performance, directory services, those again kind of wrap back up into the enterprise IT, but they are sort of your most common jobs, so they deserve to be spelled out by themselves. And as always, because sysadmin is a customer-facing job, which is a lot of people don't think of it that way because it's usually an internal service, you're working for people in the company, but those people are your customers as a sysadmin, so it is essential that you have good, solid customer service skills. You may not be able to sell things, but you need to be able to engage with people, in a customer service setting.
Absolutely. And I think, just touching on that real quick, Joe, I think that
Sure.
we've all kind of dealt with some of those help desk people that aren't necessarily the best at customer service. So it's a very, very good skill set to have, and it helps you retain employment if you happen to be that rock star with that. So I just wanted to touch on that real quick. So I'm going to stop interrupting Joe, I promise.
Oh, no, by all means. That's the beauty of this layout, is that we get to kind of have a little back and forth, and people get to see what it's like to work with us. It
Absolutely.
is a nightmare, if you're curious.
Total nightmare with Joe. Total nightmare with Joe.
Absolutely terrible. We fight all the time. They keep
Absolutely.
having to throw buckets of water at us. It's a mess.